First off, can't play me, I ain't no Xbox. I'm pulling up, busting windows. I'm at your mama's spot, kicking cups, smacking dice. I'll make this block hot, no trapping here. Slacking where? Wait, get your home right. I'm sick and tired of fucking crying and sleepless nights. Bitches approaching me, telling me they don't know of me. Oh, you think you slick, you think you got one up? You better ask my last nigga, cut his ass right up. Yeah, can't cry over spilled milk if I knew it was rotten. And all these memories we had, they was quickly forgotten. Oh, this nigga think he's smooth, he tryna cast it over me. Keep him lying through his teeth, leave his ass like Emily B. Don't think turtlenecks, but I'm feeling bad. You less, I can't let him go, but watch me loosen up. My grip, I'm hopping in my back. I'm talking about that go wall. Shit, I need a couple bags. Ain't talking about no go yard, bitch. You geeking for? I'm really about to drag and go and cry on the wall. I had to tell that nigga stop playing with me before they find this picture on murder me. Be more careful with me. I ain't like these other bitches that you used to better watch the way you handling me. I told his ass be careful with me. He better be more careful with me. I ain't like these other bitches that you used to better watch the way you handling me.
Hello, my darlings. Much love, hugs, and kisses, and welcome to the room. We will be starting the next installment of Be More Careful by the king of urban fiction, Shannon Holmes. Shannon Holmes wrote his first novel, Be More Careful, while in prison. When it was published, Be More Careful immediately became a #1 bestseller, making him a major name in a new generation of hip-hop fiction. He followed Be More Careful with the bestsellers Bad Girls and Never Go Home Again. He lives in North Carolina with his wife and their 2 daughters. Be More Careful, Chapter 7. While driving through downtown Baltimore, suddenly, Major made a detour to a nearby parking garage. Curious, Netta wondered what they were doing there. Inside the garage, Major drove around as if he were lost. It took a minute to find what he was looking for. Then the surprise came into full view. Sitting all by itself was a brand new burgundy 5351 BMW with chrome dipped deep dish rims and a big white ribbon attached. "Surprise!" said Major as he turned towards Netta. She just sat there. Her jaw dropped down to her clavicle, and her heart began to pound faster than Congo drums. "You got that for me?" she said in disbelief. "Yeah, go on." He grinned back, playing with her. "I know that's right, Daddy," she said, forgetting her mother was in the back seat. She reached over and gave him a hug, kissed both sides of his cheeks, then looked in his eyes. "You know I love you, right?" she said, not needing to, but saying it anyway. "You better," said Major, as he broke out in a big Colgate smile from ear to ear. So, it was you who stole my car? Asked Netta, figuring 1 plus 1 must equal 2. Major simply sat there like a cat that had just ate the canary. He didn't need to nod or say yes. His hand was exposed. You can't be mad, he said, reaching in his pocket as he tossed her the keys. Netta got out of his car and skipped her ass over to her new ride. She jumped in and started it up. She adjusted everything from the seats to the mirrors. She played with the radio setting for her favorite stations. Then she opened the sunroof. She rolled down all the windows, then rolled them back up again. She looked out her window over to Major. I love my car, she yelled to him, smiling and waving. This nigga is really on his job. I'm so feeling him. I could really learn to love him, she thought to herself. Renee climbed out the back seat of Major's Lexus coupe and joined her daughter after saying goodbye to Major. Netta was still fumbling with all the buttons and gadgets in the car. With her mother in the passenger seat, Netta pulled alongside Major's car. Leaning out the window, they made goo-goo eyes at each other. Thank you, Major. I love you, she said very appreciatively. I love you too. We still on for tonight or what? He asked, hoping that she wasn't forgetting that they were supposed to do it real big. He had champagne, a hotel suite, and was ready to do her. Of course. She looked at him like he was retarded. I'ma drop my mother off and then I'll meet you back at your house, she said as if they should synchronize their watches. All right, yo, he agreed with a nod as he pulled off, with her exiting the garage behind him. Cruising through the streets of Baltimore, Netta headed for the projects. She felt like she was floating. Her car handled like riding a cloud in the sky. Whenever she hit the brakes, the car stopped on a dime, and whenever she tapped the gas pedal, the car leaped forward. She was in a trance, listening to the sounds from the radio, until Renee reached over and turned off the volume. The lack of music snapped Netta out of her thoughts. She turned and looked confusingly at her mother. Netta, I have something to tell you. I don't really know how, but, she said, her voice going low, I have AIDS. The last part of her sentence stuck out and lingered in the air like an instant shock wave. It literally hung there, shocking Netta as it echoed over and over and over again. Not AIDS, thought Netta. She looked at her mother. After all these years that her mother had been shooting dope, Renee had never once overdosed. Now she was telling her this. The doctor says it's full blown, and the medication they tried isn't working for me. They said there isn't nothing they can do for me. Dr. Peter says I only have a couple months to live, said Renee, as a tear welled in her eye, and she took a deep breath, knowing her destiny was an imminent death. What? Asked Netta with a puzzled look on her face. Much love, hugs, and kisses to all those entering the room. Just when she was learning how to establish a civilized relationship with her mother was being taken away. As with any child, Netta always wanted her mother to be a mother for her when she was growing up. Time is so short, and she wished for the time they wasted. But she knew she would never get that back. Their lives were always separate ones, not like a family. Netta glanced at her mother and looked in her eyes for some type of sign of truth, but saw none. Renee looked the same to her. She wasn't the skin and bones Netta pictured an AIDS patient to be. So many things ran through her mind she could barely drive. Netta, I know I haven't been a good mother to you. What can I say? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You turned out so nice. So nice, Netta. I'm sorry for how I treated you. Her mother sat alone in her chair, even though Netta was sitting next to her. Netta was doing so good now. She was so pretty and had a boyfriend and a new car. Renee didn't think Netta would stop the car and sit her on the curb and drive off. But deep down, she knew she deserved it. Her worth as a mother was below zero. She didn't deserve the title any more than she ever wanted to carry the name. That's why she was Renee. And a mother was something she wished she could be so badly now. With her head bent down, Netta could still see the tears. Much love, hugs, and kisses to others during the room. I'll carry this guilt I got about you to my grave. But believe me, baby, I am sorry. I can't make up nothing, Netta. I know. I remember them things I did to you. I ain't never do nothing for you. I'm so sorry, baby. I don't want to die and you not know how I feel. 'Cause I'm real sorry, baby. I love you, Netta. Ain't nobody ever loved me and I ain't never know how to show it. Not even to my own. But if you don't know nothing, know that I do love you, baby. I do. And she broke down, looking at her daughter, tears in her eyes, begging for forgiveness. I forgive you, whispered Netta, unable to cry with her mother, but very much alive from her pain on the inside. If you forgive me, then help me, said Renee, pleading with her daughter. Do you know all I got in this world? Asked Renee, as if she had finally figured out one of the key ingredients to parenthood. Netta wasn't sure what her mother wanted, but Renee seemed to want her. For whatever it was worth, Netta felt her mother's pain and wanted to be there. She just wasn't sure if her mother was telling the entire story. Maybe there's a little more. Maybe there's not. If you really mean what you say, I'm here for you 100%. I'll help you, Renee. There's nothing in the world that I won't do for you, she said. Renee felt good hearing that. The realization that she was dying and the way her daughter just told her she would be there for her anyway, no matter what, meant a lot. I don't want to die in no shooting gallery high. I want to get off dope and spend my last days with you, said Renee, wiping tears from her face. I'm scared, Netta. I don't want to die alone. Neither woman said another word as they rode aimlessly in silence. Netta made a promise to herself to be there for her mother. She wouldn't forsake her. Instead, she'd keep her despite all they had been through. She immediately called Major on her cell phone. His plans were destroyed, but he wasn't mad. Baby, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I have to take care of something with my mom. But I'll explain everything to you tomorrow, okay? His heart was touched simply by her silky tone. Annetta could feel him through the phone. She was gentle, real gentle with Major. She didn't want him discouraged or unsure of anything. She explained it was her mother, but didn't explain the problem. All she told him over and over again was how much she needed him. She asked him repeatedly, did he love her? And he repeatedly answered yes. I got you. Why don't you chill? You know I got you, yo. Major said that over and over and over. So much that it shouldn't have been about dough. Excuse me. So much that it shouldn't have been about dough. Yeah, that was right. Only Netta didn't get it. Didn't get that it was never about no pussy with Major. He simply liked her style. Oh Lord, lost my place. 1 second, y'all, my bad. Only Netta didn't get that it was never about no pussy with Major. He simply liked her style. Hoes were everywhere in his world. He wondered about things like that, especially when she asked him questions that revolved around how he felt about her and his paper. The next morning, Netta called Major first thing, and she told him the news of her mother. Major was in the game, and he understood. There was a lot of dope fiends becoming infected with the HIV virus. When Netta asked him to get her an apartment where she could live with Renee, he agreed. She then went to Mimi's house. First thing was some graduation gifts to open. She sat with her extended family and told them the news of Renee. She explained why she was moving out to stay with her mother. It's hard to think of words to thank a person when they extend you hospitality, give you love, and take you in. How? They had exposed her to a side of life, family, and love that she had been foreign to all her life. Tears flowed freely from Tina and Mimi. They just couldn't help themselves. Netta stood strong, though. She had to for her own sake and her mother's. Upstairs, Mimi helped Netta pack her things, even though she didn't want her to leave. As they packed, Netta and Mimi reminisced over the years and the times they shared. Netta, who was unusually upbeat considering the circumstances, stopped Mimi in her tracks. I'm not the one dying. I'm only moving out. Calm down, Netta joked. Much love, hugs, and kisses to all entering the room. We are currently in chapter 7. Mimi wasn't joking, though. She liked having Netta around. Netta was the sister she never had. Who would take control when shit got out of control? And who would stay on her about guys, school, and fashion? Who would sit up and listen to her stories in the middle of the night when the lights were out? Netta always did her part, and Mimi was so accustomed to her being there, she couldn't help but feel saddened. As they were stuffing the last suitcase, Netta casually mentioned her new car. Oh, Major brought me a BMW for my graduation. He's the one that stole the Honda. Look, it's parked outside, said Netta. Mimi rushed to the window, landing her eyes on a burgundy 5251. Is it 52 or 53? Because I read 53 early. I really got to get the hard copy of this to see. Well, either one, I'm not familiar. So I'm just going to read it the way it's in the book. That's not me misreading, okay? So Mimi rushed to the window, landing her eyes on a burgundy 5251 glistening in the sun. She felt a tiny tinge of jealousy, but she concealed it with a big smile and 101 questions about the car. After 2 hours of folding clothes and carrying bags to the car, they were done. They were alone in the room, sitting on the beds, facing each other. Well, dog, I guess this is it, said Mimi disappointedly. Hell no! I'm only changing my address. We always going to be family to the END. End, said Nella, meaning every word of it. Life with Renee took a lot of getting used to again. For her mother's sake, Netta put aside their differences. She wanted her mother to have peace in her final days. Still addicted to heroin, Renee wanted and needed her daughter's help to kick the habit. She didn't want to meet her maker as a junkie, so she went cold turkey. Her first few days clean, Renee was sick as a dog. She sweated profusely, vomited repeatedly, and had pain from her bones aching. She thought she was going to die right then and there. Bedridden, she lost her appetite. Her bowels were working overtime, and she had loose grippers, unable to make it to the bathroom half the time. Under the care and watchful eye of Netta, she fought a valiant battle against her demons. The poison was slowly leaving her body day after day. 1 second, y'all. I'll be right back. 1 second, please. My bad, y'all. Okay. Now, where was I? Sorry for the dead air. Okay, here we go. Under the care and watchful eye of Netta, she fought a valiant battle against her demons. The poison was slowly leaving her body day after day. She wasn't just doing this for herself, she was doing it for her daughter. This was her way of saying, if I can't do this, you can do anything. No, excuse me. If I can do this, you can do anything. You can be anything in life you want to be. The choice is yours. Her kicking the habit was good therapy for both of them. This was the best anti drug message that a parent could send a child. There was no way in the world Netta would ever get high off dope after witnessing Renee's violent withdrawal and recovery. At her mother's bedside, she stood vigil. She talked to Renee, giving her positive reinforcement, letting her know she was loved and cared for. Netta walked her through it day after day. Then, one morning after 4 tumultuous days, it was over. Renee awoke rejuvenated, ready to face another day. Netta and Renee celebrated her victory with a big breakfast Netta prepared. Renee wolfed it down and made her cook more. Just as family life was beginning to resemble some normalcy, tragedy reared its evil head, and Netta was hit with yet another one of life's cruel blows. While trying to elude the cops on his motorcycle, Major crashed head on into another oncoming car. He died on his way to the hospital. Netta placed the phone by her side as she dropped her arm. She stood there in disbelief. No, there was no way. No way he could be gone. Just like that. Gone from her. Taken away. The steady beeping sound could be heard, and Netta looked at the receiver. Tremendously and deeply sad, Netta placed the phone on the receiver. She didn't cry, though. Netta had realized a long time ago that death befalls everybody sooner or later. For some, it's more tragic and dramatic, and for others, is more quiet and slow. She found death easier to accept when it struck the elderly. However, when it struck the young, it made her ask the rhetorical question, why? Life does go on for the living. Netta picked up the pieces and kept moving. She first attended Major's closed casket funeral, paying her last respects. At the funeral home, she came in contact with many of his other female concubines. However, Major's cheating ways didn't bother her at all. In fact, she expected it. It was a man's nature to stray. That's why she rationed out the sex. That's why she rationed out the sex to him. She gave it up only when she wanted to. Netta overlooked his shortcomings. In exchange, he took very good care of her. It was a trade off. One hand washed the other, but they both washed the face. And when it was all said and done, she had something of Major's none of his other broads had. Netta had his stash. Netta was holding some major paper for Major and had played her position well. Not only did she have some of his loot, but nobody knew. He was so secretive about his business with everyone, except her. He never took anyone to her house or told anyone where she lived. So the money was all hers by default. During her period of mourning, Netta turned to Mimi. Now more than before, they had a lot in common: tragedy. Mimi's presence helped take her mind off the cloud of misery that hovered over her. They also had some catching up to do. Netta and Mimi hadn't seen each other in months. Netta filled Mimi in on the details of the accident and the money she came into as a result of Major's death. Miss May had always told her everything isn't for everybody. So she placed the amount of money in the chump change range, claiming to have only come into 20,000, when in actuality it was more like 80,000. While Netta dedicated herself to taking care of her mother, Mimi was doing her thing as usual. She formed a little gold digging clique. They called themselves the Pussy Pound. They were just a bunch of chicks she ran into in the clubs every week. Getting good in the game, Mimi came up on cash and jewels. She was able to trade in her Honda Prelude for an Acura Legend. Though Netta and Mimi saw each other less than they planned, they were still tight. Whenever they could, they spent quality time together, just talking, shopping, and hanging out. Each unloaded their problems on the other. Mimi was on bad terms with her mother again. She thought Tina was trying to steal her son away. The truth was, Mimi had neglected her responsibilities by running the streets, and her son had bonded with her mother. Meanwhile, Netta was still dealing with death while trying to live her life. At times like these, Netta was overjoyed to have Mimi's company. It broke the monotony of being with her mother 24/7. Mimi was a crutch to lean on, someone to share her feelings with. Mimi was someone who would always be in her corner, and vice versa, or at least she thought. As winter rolled around, Renee's health took a turn for the worse. She steadily lost weight despite all the food and protein shakes she consumed. Wasting away, Renee was losing her battle with AIDS. Her immune system was weakening, and the fight to count numbers was a losing battle. A shadow of her former self, all she was now was skin and bones. Much love, hugs, and kisses. Oh, welcome to the room. Still in chapter 7. Watching her mother's condition worsen was painful for Netta. She insisted on taking her to the hospital, but Renee refused, knowing that the doctors would only prolong the inevitable death. She wanted to die with something she never lived with: dignity. For Renee's last days on earth, Netta catered to every last need, day and night. Netta was right there by her side. Often they talked late into the night or until Renee was too weak to speak. Netta couldn't help it. It was learned behavior from sharing the room with Mimi those past years. Sometimes habits don't die. Netta used this opportunity to question her mother about her life prior to her birth. Renee, how was your childhood? Asked Netta inquisitively. I had a decent childhood. I was an only child like you. I didn't have everything I wanted, but I had everything I needed, she said, letting out a long, hard cough that rocked her body and the walls of the room. Then she continued. My life was fine till dope hit the city back in the 60s. Then Daddy got caught up in that mess. After that, Mama wound up losing the house. So me and Mama had to move into the projects. Where's Granddaddy and Grandma now? Netta asked. Well, Daddy died of an overdose that same year he started using. Back then, dope was dope. It was way more powerful than it is today. Mama died young when she was still a baby. No, excuse me. Mama died young when you was still a baby, said Renee. Her voice got weak. It hurt her to speak about her mother. She went on to satisfy Netta's curiosity. Some people say Mama died of a broken heart. They say I was the cause of Mama going into an early grave, she said, ashamed of the many titles she had carried throughout her life. After Daddy died, it was just me and Mama against the world, till your daddy came along. From the door, Mama was against me seeing him. She didn't like him. He came around in his big fancy cars, and Mama knew what he did. She hated hustlers and drug dealers. She said they were bloodsuckers of the poor. Mama warned me not to fool with your father. She said he was bad news and she wanted more for her daughter than some damn drug dealer. But I didn't listen. I chose a man over my own mother, said Renee, trying to hold back tears. Netta listened to all of this and barely said a word. This was her history, her family tree. Never in all her life had her mother ever talked to her, really talked to her about anything she needed to know until now. This information merely wetted her whistle for more. She was more thirsty to know more about the mystery man she never knew, her father. Renee filled in the blanks as best she could, but she only partially satisfied her daughter's curiosity. Deliberately, she ignored the issue of Netta's father's identity, but Netta wouldn't leave well enough alone. She pushed the issue. Renee, Netta softly called, interrupting her mother's story. Yeah, Netta, her mother asked back, too weak to turn her head. Much love, hugs, and kisses, darlings. Well, I was just wondering, how come you never, not once, mentioned who my father was? She said, asking the one question she needed the answer to. The question caught Renee off guard, although she knew one day it would eventually come. From the day he walked out of their lives, she hadn't mentioned his name in her house since. Now Netta had just opened up a can of worms, and Renee was forced to conjure up the past. Well, Netta, it's a long story. But to make a long story short, your father chose the streets over us. I hated that man for running away from his responsibility. I hated him for so long that if I ever saw him again, it would be too soon, Renee angrily said. I understand how you feel about him, but did you ever think about me? That maybe someday I might want to meet him? Netta, that's your father. He ain't never been your daddy. That nigga knew me and you was living in them damn projects and he ain't lift one finger to help us out, said Renee as her temper and her voice rose. He was too busy making babies all over West and East Baltimore. Do you think I should meet him? Asked Netta innocently. Child, I can't make that decision for you. You grown now, and that's a bridge you have to cross on your own. Yes or no ain't for me to say. After all, he is your father, and no matter what or how I feel about him, we can't change that. All I can tell you is where to find him, said Renee, catching her breath. That's all Netta needed to hear. That's all she ever wanted to know. Since she was a kid, this was the moment she had been waiting for. Well, who is he? She asked. They call him Dollar, but his real name is Willie Johnson. He ain't hard to find. He owns a couple of bars in West Baltimore. Just ask around. Everybody knows Dollar, Renee said with confidence. That was all the information Netta needed. Well, if that wasn't all Netta needed to hear, she damn sure didn't need to hear anything else. She looked at her mother as her head turned toward the window. Renee didn't say anything else about Dollar, and Netta, having all the information she needed, decided never to question her mother again. It wasn't long after when Netta arrived home from running errands to find Renee had passed. Her wide-eyed, lifeless body lay in the bed, staring right through Netta as she walked through her mother's bedroom door. Mom, Netta called out. It sounded so funny. The words just echoed off the walls and bounced into nothingness. Slowly, she walked across the room, looking every bit of a kindergartner about to discover something new. This discovery was death. She had never seen a dead body before. God, please take my mother and wrap her in your love and shield her so she will have no more pain. God, please. Just then, Netta heard Miss May. God comes for all of us, promising nothing more in life, except one day you will die. There are no promises for success, no promises for wealth, and no promises for happiness, love, or health. The only thing for certain in life is death. Is what you do in between life and death that counts. Then Miss May's voice disappeared. Netta bent down next to her mother's body as she stroked her mother's forehead and cheekbones. Renee had finally lost her battle with AIDS. Netta calmly, with two of her fingers, closed both her mother's eyelids. I love you, Mommy, she said. Then kneeling, she bent her head and continued to pray for her mother. She prayed her mother was right with the Lord before he took her soul. And she prayed that her mother was free from all the hurt and pain in whatever place she was. Please let me see my mommy again, God. One day, let me see her again. And would you tell her I love her so much? I always did love her. God, you know that. Please tell her for me. I will miss her so much. She's not here no more, whispered Netta as she knelt down next to the bed and bowed her head next to her mother's body. There was no time to grieve once the call had been made to 911. The responsibility for handling her mother's burial fell on her. Maturely, Netta tackled the task, making the necessary arrangements. She decided to cremate her mother's remains. Her decision was solely based on the deteriorated condition of the body. Netta didn't want anybody to see her like that. She wanted people to remember Renee the way she was. After the cremation process was completed, Renee's ashes were placed in an urn. There was only one thing left for Netta to do: honor her mother's last wish. With her ashes in the urn, she drove downtown to the inner harbor and scattered Renee's ashes in the waters of the Chesapeake Bay. Now, Renee was finally free. Free from the pain. Free from disease. Free from the shame of her many titles. And free from the addiction that haunted her most of her adult life. She was free, like an angel. She was always meant to be. I will miss you, Mom. I love you. I always did.
Trying to make you understand. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and their shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's beef in the east, protect your chest in the west. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and their shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's Baltimore, we know for money, murder, and sex. Murphy Homes, the land of the cone and the raw bone. Yellow tape for sanity, labeled a court zone. Ammunition, ranger protects the crossbows. Run up in cribs, quick to put the pistol cross stones. We rapping and it ain't no secret. Taurus between the pelvis and the breeks. We got pieces that will rip all pieces. Double clips take together will endanger the species. My crime now mixed with raw, so my paper increases. I make $1 million on a busy corner. Master chemist with a vicious corner. Got one bounce to California. Y'all niggas know how Baltimore is. Stay sending mad work to the mortician and the florist. What I'm out of town is getting extorted. Then escorted to the city limits. Minus that 6-digit fortune. These locals are compelled by them evil forces. While haters get 18 holes like they up in golf courses. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and these shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's beef in the east, protect your chest in the west. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and their shirts is wet. Quiet is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's Baltimore, we know for money, murder, and sex. From my locks and my Timbs and my all black, saw hoodlum. War wounds and battle incisions granted me wisdom. Plenty gold, help me as a child in his bosom. Feeding me the milk of the world. I was given the game and taught the rules by urban wizards. Got you words for this flow. It's superb and vicious. Matter of fact, got you more. It's intense and malicious. Yeah, don't get it fucked up. I like to send a shout out to all my bitches, from the knock 'em down to the pussy pound. Keep it tight, my bitches, cause every day in the underworld we facing dilemmas. Do we run or bust that gun? We'll face it together, my niggas. Sell pot, running forward with big plans and big decisions. Ain't stopping the hustles, so keep it together, my niggas. It's one love. All All it takes is one snitch to ruin it all. Keep your circle close knit, cause a brick house won't fall. Keep your basement door locked, don't let them rats infiltrate. Cause if you see one, then you got 20 that poison the food on your plate. Listen, build your man, cause I got a plan to make it right. Please don't come through tripping, cause you won't make it through the night. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Squad is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. There's beef in the east, protect your chest in the west. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Squad is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's Baltimore, we know for money, murder, and sex. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Squad is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. There's beef in the east, protect your chest in the west. Be more careful, better watch your step. Cats get caught slipping and they shirts is wet. Squad is kept, we scheming where that work is kept. It's Baltimore, we know for money, murder, and sex. Hit me.
Chapter 8. Much love, hugs, and kisses. No, that's just intermission. I have to wet my whistle. Excuse me. Y'all probably heard that. Yeah, that was one of them ones. Okay. Alrighty. Excuse me. It is what it is. Okay. Sister had a chili hot dog for dinner. Okay, here we go. I was so unprofessional. I'm just saying. Chapter 8. With only one remaining parent left, Netta couldn't get her father out of her mind. It was time to seek him out. She wondered whether or not she was doing the right thing. Would he even acknowledge her as his daughter? Or would he deny her very existence, forever leaving her a bastard child? She could ponder these questions forever, but there was only one way to find out for sure. One thing that her mother had been absolutely right about was the popularity of her father. Dollar's name was still ringing bells after all these years. Locating his whereabouts was easy. She simply asked some prominent hustlers she knew, and they told her about a bar he owned in South Beemore. It was a popular hangout for old-timers on Saturday nights. So, the following Saturday night, Netta went to Sandtown and slipped into Legends. The bar was packed, so she blended right in with the regulars. The party atmosphere inside the bar took on a late 60s flavor, with all the old Motown records being played real loud. Thank you. This was like a paradise for old hustlers who managed to survive in the game. Here they could relax and reminisce over days gone by. Netta found herself a seat in the corner, where she sat nursing a drink. Patiently, she watched and waited for the man called Dollar. Since she didn't have a clue as to what he looked like, she examined every man closely. Any one of them could be her father. She scanned the sea of faces, looking for the slightest sign of physical resemblance. She saw none. Netta soon realized that her hearing would be her guide and her greatest asset, since her eyes might possibly deceive her. She began to listen intently for the name Dollar. An hour later, in walks a tall, handsome, dark-skinned man. On his arm was an attractive, brown-skinned young lady. He made a grand entrance and was greeted by a chorus of greetings. "Hey, Dollar Bill, what's happening?" one man yelled. "Yo, Dollar, long time no see," said another. He was the life of the party. He joked and mingled with mostly all of the patrons in his bar. Standing a few feet away from Netta, Dollar chatted with some of his old partners. She was tempted to walk over and tap him on the shoulder and introduce herself. But what would she say? What would he do? Would he be angry or happy to meet her? Doubt crept back into her mind and she hesitated. Netta knew that a conversation with her father would only raise more questions than he could possibly answer. It was obvious that he didn't give a damn about her or Renee. How would a relationship with him benefit me now? She asked herself. Where was he when I really needed him? When I was messed up in the game, living in the projects and stealing food and clothes? Where the hell was he? Netta watched her father for a few more minutes. Then she got up and made her way to the door. Before she left, she glanced back over to the man they called Dollar. She took a long look hard at her father. "Goodbye, motherfucker. Have a nice life," she said lowly before turning her back to leave. Now she could bring this chapter of her life to a close. She never wanted to see that stranger again. Anxious to put the past behind her, Netta moved out of her apartment. She was trying to escape all the death and drama she experienced while living in that house. First Major, then her mother. She decided to invest a little of her newfound wealth. She wanted to own her own home. This way she would have a permanent roof over her head. She purchased a newly renovated 2-story row home in West Baltimore on Monroe and Fayette. She purchased the house dirt cheap because the neighborhood was so bad. Yes, Lord. It is. It was. I ain't gonna say nothing. I know a couple people own houses down that end. I'm just saying. But for a first home for a young woman at that day of time, that was a good buy. Before long, Netta and Mimi were hanging tough again, but things had changed now. Mimi was no longer the same naive person she had been. She got wiser and was playing more ballers than a Rutgers game. The Pussy Pound looked up to Mimi. She was their leader. To them, she was the shit. It didn't take long, though, for Netta to wrestle away control. Mimi looked up to Netta, so naturally, everyone else followed suit. At times, their different personalities clashed, and they seemed to compete for dominance of the Pussy Pound. Mentally stronger, Netta won out. She got them to see and do things her way. She organized the clique, teaching them as she taught Mimi how to work the hustlers. As a group, they would go on to make the Pussy Pound famous. Before Netta took over, they were running around fucking corner hustlers, cats that had champagne taste and beer money. Netta taught them how to get paid. Like a madam, she directed traffic, steering all the big boys with big names and big cars towards her clique. Instead of just her and Mimi having cars, in a matter of months, Fila, Petey, and Rashida all had new luxury cars too. Pretty soon, the Pussy Pounds' names were ringing in the streets of Bmore as loud as the hustlers. They were known for showing hustlers a real good time. Whatever was clever with them behind closed door, anything goes. Everything was all good. Then jealousy reared its ugly head. Mimi was quietly pissed that she was no longer the focal point of the clique. Upstaged by her friend, she felt Netta stole her shine. She put this thing together, and yet it was Netta who got all the glory. It was Friday night, and Volcano's nightclub was packed. Of course, the Pussy Pound was in the house, strutting their stuff in 3/4 mink coats. They were a lot of fine and fly females in the club that night, but Netta and Mimi were stars among stars. They were trying to catch. Tonight was business as usual. You got to pay to play. For Black, this was truly a rare night. For Black, this was truly a rare night out for him. It was his 25th birthday. Much love, hugs, and kisses. Welcome to the room. We are in chapter 8. For Black, this was truly a rare night out for him. It was his 25th birthday. He was accompanied by his right-hand man, Ty. He was the notorious Black in the flesh at Volcano's after being on the down low for months. He'd been the source of too much drama to be partying, and he was too hot to get caught slipping at some club. Too many people wanted him dead. His name had been linked with too many murders and too many shootings. Now that the heat had died down somewhat, he was free to make a public appearance. It was like he hadn't missed a beat. Everybody still recognized who he was, a ghetto superstar, one of the top money-making cats in all of B-more, bar none. His name struck fear in the hearts of his enemies, while women openly lusted after him. Dipped out in ice and platinum, both Black and Ty turned heads. They loved all the attention they received. The envious stares from other hustlers and the flirtatious grins of the ladies made his dick hard. Figuratively, Black owned the club. Even with the lights dimmed, his platinum link chain, diamond encrusted cross, platinum presidential Rolex with the diamond bezel, the two pinky 5-carat diamond rings, not to mention the R. Kelly flashlights in the ears, illuminated from his body like fireflies. Black was giving it to them. Yes, he was hot, walking around in that full-length black meat, but he didn't dare take it off. He was strapped. Ty, his right-hand man, likewise was bejeweled and wearing a full-length white mink. As they walked through the club, people parted like the Red Sea to let them pass. While looking for a quiet spot to chill, Ty suddenly suggested that they head for the bar. "It's your birthday, Black. Let me buy you a drink, yo," Ty excitedly said. "Whatever, yo, that's what's up," answered Black. "We gonna do it up tonight. Everything is on me," Ty said like he was saying something. The fact of the matter was that Black was the one with the long money. He was the boss and Ty was the help. He could buy anything or anyone in that club many times over. If true money talked, then Black's paper was shouting. At the bar, Netta and Mimi were attracting plenty of attention of their own. Having shared their mink coats, they were showing off their tight-fitting Versace dresses. They brushed aside smaller hustlers in search of those that could put their weight up, hustlers with long money. They watched and they waited, making idle chit-chat while enjoying their drinks. In their own little world, they never saw Black and Ty slide up beside them at the bar. But when they glanced over and saw Black, instantly they both recognized him. This was a chance meeting. Rumors had been circulating some time now that Black was dead, but the rumors about his demise had been greatly exaggerated because there he was standing there in the flesh. Netta made her move on some smart luck strategy, seizing the opportunity and throwing herself at him. Mm, that's a nice cross. Can I see it? She said, complimenting him on his taste in jewels. Without answering, Black stepped around Mimi until he was within Netta's reach. Gently, she reached out and picked up the cross off his chest, as if it had been touched by gods. Cradling it in her hand, she admired it. As he marveled at her physical beauty, they both had each other's full attention. Black liked what he saw in Netta. Mimi was an afterthought. Netta had two attributes he loved in a woman: aggressiveness and pretty dark skin. Dark skinned women turned him on. The darker the berry, the sweeter the juice, was his motto. In his mind, there was no question who he wanted. The decision was made, and Black chose Netta. Within minutes, Netta and Black were openly flirting, and Mimi had no choice but to play the cut. After she finished inspecting his medallion, Netta carefully placed it back on his chest. Damn, if I had your hand, I'd throw mine's in. She sighed, throwing game and giving him a devilish grin. Girlfriend, your hand the best hand. You look like one in a million. By the way, I'm Black, shorty. What's your name? He asked, looking her up and down. Netta, she said, without hesitating. Turning, she said, this is my girl Mimi. At this point, Black introduced Ty to Mimi, and the group split in two. Each was engrossed in their conversations. While Netta had bagged the grand prize, Mimi had to settle for consolation. Ty. He wasn't chump change, but he wasn't Black either. Netta had beaten her to the punch, and boy, was she heated.
First off, can't play me, I ain't no Xbox. I'm pulling up, busting windows. I'm at your mama's spot, kicking cups, smacking dice. I'll make this block hot, no trapping here, slacking where? Wait, get your home right. I'm sick and tired of fucking crying and sleepless nights. Bitches approaching me, telling me they don't know of me. Oh, you think you slick, you think you got one up? You better ask my last nigga, cut his ass right up. Yeah, can't cry for spilled milk if I knew it was rotten. And all these memories we had, they was quickly forgotten. Oh, this nigga think he's smooth, he tryna cast it over me. Keep him lying through his teeth, leave his ass like can we be? No pink turtlenecks, but I'm feeling bad. You left, I can't let him go, but watch me loosen up. My grip, I'm hopping in my bank. I'm talking about that go wall. Shit, I need a couple bags. Ain't talking about no go yard, bitch. You geeking for? I'm really about the dragon, gon' cry no more. I had to tell that nigga stop playing with me before they find this picture on murder me. Be more careful with me. I ain't like these other bitches that you used to better watch the way you handling me. I told his ass be careful with me. He better be more careful with me. I ain't like these other bitches that you used to better watch the way you handling me.
Okay, my darlings. Much love, hugs, and kisses. Thank you for hanging in there with me. That was part one of the book, okay? We are getting ready to go into part two. I'm going to try to fit that in Saturday, okay? I'm going to try to do 2 days back to back. I'm going to try to do 2 chapters on Saturday and 2 chapters on Sunday. Excuse me. Please beg my pardon for being late today. A bit tardy, but business comes first and home second. You know how it works. I had to look out for what was happening, all that good shit. But let me get rid of this real quick and do this real quickly. Okay, now that I'm back. All right. So the giveaway is going on, and the end date for the giveaway is November 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, that's midnight my time. Okay, so you have between November 9th and November 21st to comment under any video, not my community wall, but any video that I put up, whether it's a live stream, a video, whatever I do that goes up under the video section of my page between November 9th and November the 21st at 7 p.m. EST to comment, enter me, and then hashtag KEYSDARLINS, okay? The giveaway will be done live on the 22nd of November. You all know how I do it. This is my third giveaway. I'll put it in the Wheel of Fortune. We'll spin it. I'll do it all in front of you so you can see that it's unbiased and that it's fair. As fair can be. It's left to chance. The rules are you must be 18 plus. You must be subscribed to me, and I don't mean just some subscriber out in the blue. I mean somebody that I see quite often, okay? Or not quite often, but that I'm familiar, at least with your handle. Or that, I know when you subscribe. Something along those lines. I've seen you on these streets, okay? Because I would like someone who truly supports to get the 100 pounds, which right now translate into about 124 and some change, I think, USD. That is the Sunday before Thanksgiving, so this would be a nice little treat for someone, whether it's your birthday. I'm not going to name no name, but I know it's somebody's birthday week. And whether it's your birthday or you want to get you a couple turkeys, some canned goods, maybe you want to take the money and actually feed the elderly or feed someone for Thanksgiving because your Thanksgiving dinner is together already. You know what I'm saying? You could do charity, but you don't have to tell me. It's your money to do it as you please. You can go buy you a pair of shoes, you know what I'm saying? Get your hair did, your nails done, buy a wig. I don't care. Buy you, I don't know, 10 face masks and some latex gloves. I don't know, get you some condoms. I'm just saying, it's a nice little piece of change, okay? So, the rules again are you must be 18 plus. You must enter between November 9th and the 21st of November at 7 p.m. I do believe that's a Saturday EST. The drawing is on the Sunday before Thanksgiving, which is the 22nd, I believe. I don't know what time that live will be right now, and I don't want to give you a time because y'all know how I am. Okay. So you'll probably get the time closer to the date of when I'll actually go live to do it. You do not have to be present, but you will have a certain amount of time, which is normally about 24 to 48 hours to get in contact with me before I will spin the wheel again, okay? You don't have to limit yourself to one account because, if you have subscribed to me with more than one account, they all go towards my count for the G. So, since I got the G and you help me out, however you help me out, feel free to enter every account you use to help me out. I don't have no problem with it. As long as you're 18 plus, okay? 18 plus, got PayPal, and I'll subscribe. That's all you got to do. Enter me and hashtag KEYSDARLINS so I can pick you out. Now, don't worry. Those comments won't get a heart from me until I pull the names for the draw. So that's how you know that I'm about to do the drawing, because I'll heart it. And you get a notification when I heart your comments. So I guess that's everything, my darlings. I love you. This was a good read for me too. I'm enjoying remembering this story with you and reminiscing about my youth. This is a fictional story, but it is based on real places and things that happened in the city during that time. These characters would be my age or thereabouts. So I'm having a lot of memories, like from the clubs, like volcanoes and things, and the music and stuff, the clothing, you know. So it was fun. Hopefully, I'll be back Saturday. I'm really gonna do my best to give y'all Saturday and Sunday a back to back. Because I want to push this book out. I'm gonna try to do at least one book for y'all a month. I'm not sure about December yet. I might give you a choice of books for December. We'll discuss it. But until then, y'all stay safe. It ain't nothing but love here. And I'll see you on the flip side.
Come on, man. Come on.